Israel's war in Gaza has killed more than 67,000 people. That's a figure from the local Hamas-run health authorities, whose numbers are generally accepted as accurate. Many more remain missing, believed to be buried under the rubble of destroyed buildings. Some 90% of Gaza's population has been displaced multiple times.
2 years of war have shattered Rozan Al-Matoun's life. Death and displacement stalk her. Plans and ambitions seem very far away.
I was in my final year of pharmacy school, about to graduate. But the war came and stopped my studies and actually stopped life altogether in Gaza. We were displaced from our home and were displaced to several places, lived in tents, endured the heat, endured the rain, survived times of famine.
Rozan documented the scene in Gaza City as Israeli ground forces moved in to seize and conquer the city. Just a day before talking with us, she joined hundreds of thousands of other displaced Palestinians forced to leave.
I live in a tent in the central governorate. Life is extremely difficult, with no electricity, no water, no privacy and no safety. The destruction surrounds us, and any moment could be our last.
This July, an Israeli airstrike hit her family's home in Zitoun in Gaza City while she was at work. It killed her mother, her father, and her 3 sisters. She and her brother, who's in Egypt, are the only members left of her immediate family.
I couldn't imagine that they might have been killed. Since my family had nothing to do with politics, they had no affiliation, they weren't involved in anything. After sitting for an entire hour at the hospital surrounded by other relatives, they told me that my mother had been martyred. I went to her, held her, but I remember little because I was absolutely broken at that moment. They tried to console me and reassured me that my father and my 3 sisters might still be alive in another hospital.
But the strike had killed them too, and their bodies were still in the ruins of their home. She had to wait a month for the Israeli military to leave the area before she could recover them.
I went and found my family in the only section of our house that I could make out in all the rubble. My dad and 3 siblings, all on one couch. My cousin and 2 neighbors helped me remove them with our bare hands, without any help or equipment.
Now Rozan is displaced in Deir al-Balach. A coffee shop offers some semblance of normality and the chance to recharge phones and laptops. She still works as an assistant pharmacist for displaced people.
After 2 years of negotiations, suffering, displacement, famine, lack of water and hunger, a solution must be found.
Most of Gaza is in ruins and countless lives have been lost or shattered in the war which an independent United Nations Commission has called a genocide.
For me, Gaza now is pain, tenderness and sorrow. It was tranquility and safety, but it has become a graveyard of dreams. Yet despite all the tragedy and suffering, I still love it, I'm attached to it, and hope that we will return to it soon, God willing.
Well, joining me now are 2 people who are personally and professionally invested in a future of peaceful coexistence between Israelis and Palestinians. Dan Sobovitz is an Israeli European. He's also a human rights activist, and he is with Samer Sinijlawi, a Palestinian political activist. And to both of you gentlemen, it's good to have you on. You've been on the program before. We're glad that we could see you again. And before we start talking about today's anniversary, I'd like you both to tell us why you happen to be traveling, why you happen to be in the same place, and how it fits your reputation as bridge builders between your peoples.
Yeah, so thanks for inviting us again. We see importance not only in building bridges and dialogue between Israelis and Palestinians, but we are involved in trilateral dialogues with Europeans, and that's why we are touring not alone with a group of other Israeli and Palestinian peace activists arriving in every capital of the EU in order to see how Europe can still keep its place, an important role in helping us bring this endless cycle of violence into some kind of a political end. So last time when you invited us, we were indeed in Berlin, and now we're in Tallinn, Estonia. And we are here in order to speak with authorities here about what they can do to help us resolve this.
And Samer, is that the correct way to describe both of you bridge builders between Israelis and Palestinians?
Well, yes, correct. I see myself also as a political activist, a leader of change. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it could be a little bit contradiction, because if you need to have results into relaxing the hard feelings of two people who have been in a circle of violence for so long, sometimes you need to say things that are so hard. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you need to say things that are not very much welcomed by the public. But somebody needs to push a social political change. The common enemy between Palestinians and Israelis, I don't think we are the enemies of each other. I think there are common enemies to both of us, which is ignorance, which is the hard feelings that are conquering our hearts and minds. It's feelings like sadness, like anger, sometimes it's hatred. So these are the real enemies that we need to get rid of them, even with the very painful 2 years. And I'll tell you something, both of us were very ugly towards each other. We have crossed all the moral red lines. We have convinced ourselves that everything is permissible. We can do whatever we want to the other side. Mm-hmm. It's terrible memories. These 2 years are not something that any Palestinian or any Israeli would like to keep remembering. I think today we are on the 7th of October again, but we are in a turning point where there is a political will in the White House and in the region and among global leaders to help both Israelis and Palestinians to exit this and end it and turn it back and leave it into history. I think we Israelis and Palestinians, we need to start forcing ourselves to imagining peace. We need to see what kind of offer is putting these all leaders are putting to us on the table. They are ending the war. They are releasing the hostages. The peace plan now from President Trump is definitely getting back the hostages to the Israelis. And I know that this is going to heal their wounds. And it is definitely ending the war in Gaza. And I know it should be able to heal our wounds. So let's try to imagine that peace. Let's try to see how we can work together, how we can start to be partners in reconciliation. Let's see how tolerance can prevail instead of hatred and mistrust. And it's possible, because we need to be sure of one thing. Before we are Israelis, before we are Palestinians, we have common humanity. Nobody can deny that Israelis are human beings, and nobody can deny that Palestinians are human beings. Right. This joint humanity will rescue us. Just we need to release it. We need to release it from inside outside.
Samer, I want to talk with you guys. I want to talk with you guys about this peace plan in just a moment. But first, let me ask you, Dan, what does the Israeli-Palestinian relationship, what does it look like to you today, 2 years after the Hamas attacks?
There isn't a relationship between Israelis and Palestinians. It's rare for them to meet other than through the eyes of this conflict. I mean, Israeli soldiers in Gaza or settlers and Palestinians, it hardly happens. I mean, part of the reason why we're doing this tour of trilateral talks is first for us, and we have some difficult conversations about terminology and about guilt and about responsibility. But I mean, sometimes we have to travel abroad in order for Israelis and Palestinians to talk. I don't think it's happening enough. I think it should happen much more. So for me, there isn't a relationship. There's war, and a very, very deadly and cruel war, which is still raging.
Well, Dan, did the events 2 years ago, did they change you? Or would you say the events that began 2 years ago have changed? I mean, how do you see it?
Well, the 7th October and the ongoing war on Gaza, shocked both Israelis and Palestinians. But I think we need to start getting out from some kind of an artificial engineered trauma that we are trying to convince ourselves that we are still up to date in a trauma. And whatever reaction we are doing, it's based on this trauma. I think we should be able to say no more time for this trauma. We need to exit this trauma. If we keep looking with our both eyes into the 7th of October and into the horrible 2 years war on Gaza, we will keep imprisoning ourselves in the past. It's time for us to shift one eye towards the future and see how we can overcome our wounds and how can we start in a process of cooperation. And this
Samer,
is
let
possible.
me ask you. Samer, let me.
After 2 years, I'll just end with one.
Okay,
phrase.
okay, go ahead.
After 2 years of terrible war, we today, nothing has changed on the ground. We are 7 million Jewish Israelis and 7 million Palestinians who are still living in the same piece of land. Nothing changed. Nothing changed.
Okay.
So in a way or another, nobody is disappearing from this land. We need to find a way of coexistence. We need
I've got
now to resort
I've got time
to
for
a
two
peace
more
of no
questions.
choice.
I've got time for two more questions for you. Samer, I'll get one for you and then one for Dan. Samer, you are a member of Fatah's shadow leadership. You are a vocal critic of Palestinian President Abbas. Is the window opening for you to possibly take a leadership position for the Palestinians in this new future that's being created?
We need to make sure, we need to fight, we need to work hard to bring elections to the Palestinian people. This is the only way that lots of Palestinian voices, younger than me even, can come up to the surface of the political life and introduce themselves and their ideas and win the agency and the vote from the Palestinian public.
Okay.
You know, a lot of Israelis are telling me sometimes that the Gazans have elected Hamas in 2006 and they deserve this destiny. Let me tell you something. This is a wrong assumption. In 2006 election, Hamas won by the majority of votes in the West Bank. Gaza voted against Hamas. And still, unfortunately, they have been the victim of a regime of Hamas that controlled them for more than 17 years and took them on the 7th of October 2023 in a collective, massive suicide attack against Israel that simply erased Gaza from Israel and stole the life of 2.3 million Palestinians. So Palestinians, they have the right to vote and go to the election. And then you will see people like me and others going up to the pyramid of politics and achieving better to our people.
Okay, Dan, let me ask you, how do you see Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu fitting into a future of peaceful coexistence?
Look, in the White House, he seemed to endorse the new 20-point plan of Trump. It's the man of spins and manipulations. We'll have to see what he actually does about it. I mean, I think we all learned to be skeptical. It would be hard for me to believe that he would actually go about with it. But I mean, the best thing we have is to hope. Once he's not in power, obviously things would be easier. But yeah, I don't see him as an actor who would bring us closer. But I have to say, you asked me earlier about the relationship between Israelis and Palestinians, and I answered you at a grassroots, people-to-people level. Ironically, despite this lowest point in the conflict that we're seeing now, we're also as close as it gets to reaching some sort of a political agreement.
Yeah.
So we had to reach such a low point of such cruelty and such inhumanity in order to be as close as we've been in the past, correct me if I'm wrong, years, to actually getting both world attention and pressure to actually pave the way to some kind of a concrete deal. So with all the agony and misery that we've seen and the suffering and the cruelty over the past 2 years, I would like to believe that this still paves the way to a better and hopefully political solution. And yes, I would like to see Samer in the political leadership of our neighboring future Palestinian state. I think that would definitely make the region look a bit brighter.
Well, Maybe that was the first endorsement there for a political campaign for Samer. We will see. Samer and Dan, to both of you, I know a lot of people applaud the work that you're doing. We certainly appreciate you taking the time to talk with us today. Good seeing you again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.